You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday, happy Mercury day, and welcome to eclipse season. Corby is here. So happy to see you, Corby. It's a wild ride already, and eclipse season is just getting started. So we're going to chat all about this eclipse, the energy surrounding it, and of course, what it means for each rising sign as well. So if you're joining me live, buckle up. We've got a lot to chat about. Say hi in the comments. Hey, Heather, let me know how this energy is feeling for you so far. And if you're finding this video later, I'll go ahead and add markers to the timeline so you can jump to your horoscope or whichever part of the forecast that you are looking for guidance on. I know we missed you too, Corby. I was thinking about you, but I'm so glad I get to check in with you today. So the current energy. The moon is in Aries. The moon just passed over Jupiter in the last couple hours too. So when the moon is conjunct Jupiter, that always amplifies our emotions, amplifies our experience. We might experience amplified motivation today too, just kind of over the top feelings about pretty much everything because that's what Jupiter does. So Jupiter will be in a loose conjunction to the eclipse as well. Not only is this an eclipse, not only is it at the 29th degree, the anaretic degree, which we'll get into, but it's also close to Jupiter and squaring Pluto. That's the gist of everything we're going to talk about and break down today. Yeah, Bailey, I feel you. I'm glad you're here. She says it's been a wild ride. I needed to tune in to find out why. If it's feeling wild for you, you are not alone. In fact, I was like, this is feeling good so far. I mean, I've been kind of like, okay, what's going to happen? But wow, the past 12 hours, I'm like, oh, there's the eclipse energy coming in. Did not expect that. So remember, eclipses in general, let's just talk about eclipses in general for a moment. Eclipses have been observed by our ancestors for thousands of years. And unless you live in India, you're probably not going to see this solar eclipse. It's exact at 9:12 p.m. Pacific time. So that would be, I think, 12:12 p.m. a.m. Eastern time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how daylight saving plays into that, but it will be in the morning in the Eastern hemisphere. So they will actually see the moon moving over the sun. And a solar eclipse always happens on a new moon. A lunar eclipse always happens around a full moon. So that solar eclipse will be the moon passing over the sun. Now, I want you to think about eclipses in this sense. Imagine living in 1400, okay? And we don't have the internet. We don't have modern technology. Maybe you've heard about an eclipse before, but imagine looking up in the sky and seeing the light of the sun being blocked out by an object and not really having the awareness or intelligence, to be quite honest, because most people at that time didn't really even know how to read. Imagine not understanding what's going on. You're probably going to think it's a bad omen, right? That the light of the sun is being blocked out. So eclipses have been notoriously linked to disasters or bad things happening. And I want to just put the kibosh on that right now. That's not the case. What eclipses do tend to bring up are fated transitions, fated moments, because what's happening is that the moon and the sun are aligning with the north and south node during an eclipse. And these are called the nodes of fate. So fated events happen around eclipses. And whatever is happening this eclipse season is probably going to feel especially intense, especially transformative, especially powerful because of the role that Pluto is playing in all of this. So there's no need to fear eclipse season. It just happens to coincide with a Mercury retrograde that starts on Friday as well. Both eclipse seasons and retrograde seasons are times to slow down and sort of pump the brakes on forward progress, to give ourselves time to assess, to revise, to shore some things up, make some adjustments. So that is the cycle we're entering. This is not a normal new moon tonight. If you'd like to do your new moon rituals, go for it. But with the luminaries being blocked during eclipses, a lot of people don't recommend doing rituals. Follow your own intuition always. Yeah, this cycle that we're entering is not a normal moon cycle. It's an eclipse cycle. So long story short, get ready. But also expect the unexpected because who knows what's coming. Corby says, I actually feel pretty good. 6th house issues with the moon and the eclipse are coming up, but it's turning out for my overall good. So maybe your routine or your health getting a little bit of a shakeup. I'm glad it hasn't hit you too hard yet. Yeah, that makes me happy. Rose, oh boy, the weather was so intense last night and this morning. There were a lot of power outages, a handful of schools closed today, lots of traffic this morning. Weather events tend to line up with eclipses too. So there's probably going to be a lot of crazy stuff happening in the next couple weeks. Find your peace, find your center, try not to get knocked off balance too much. And again, just sort of expect the unexpected. Now, right now, the sun and moon are both in Aries. That changes overnight. Both the sun and moon will move into Taurus within a couple hours of each other. They are hand in hand, just scooting on into Taurus. But Aries is a very fiery, very energetic, passionate sign. So not only is this moon conjunct Pluto, or excuse me, moon conjunct Jupiter squaring Pluto, we're talking about Aries energy. And not only are we talking about Aries energy, but this eclipse is happening at the 29th degree of Aries. So the moon and sun will both be meeting at the 29th degree. And as we know, my friends who have been here before, the 29th degree is a critical degree in astrology. And both the 29th degree and the 0 degree are called critical degrees. The 29th degree is like this culminating point. It's the last degree. There's this sense of restlessness, like we just want to get on to the next thing, especially the 29th degree of Aries. Impulses, aggression could certainly be coming up tonight or just around this eclipse in general. And then when the moon and sun both move into Taurus, they move to the 0 degree, another critical degree where we're like, okay, we're eager, let's go. Let's get on with it already. There's just this sense of restlessness. And both the sun and moon will square Pluto in Aquarius right when they get to that 0 degree mark. Just around this eclipse in general, it'll be squaring Pluto. So, actually, let's pull up the chart. This is the chart for the exact moment of the eclipse, okay? So you can see there is a whole gathering of planets happening in Aries and Taurus right now. The chart feels a little lopsided over here. And, with Jupiter at 23 degrees, only 6 degrees away from the eclipse, we're still feeling that amplified effect. Now, here's Pluto over here at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So you can see the square playing out to the eclipse. Don't worry too much about the point of fortune. However, as we're looking at the actual eclipse chart, now this is the chart for Sacramento where I'm based out of, but this is where all the planets would be on any chart you pull up for this moment in time. The layout might look a little different depending on the location. But what's interesting, at least on my chart, is that Mercury is opposing the point of fortune at the moment of the eclipse. And that just tells me, this is very minor, but it's coming to my attention. So I feel like, hey, why not? Let's chat about it. This just tells me that big realizations Fortunate realizations could be happening around this eclipse. The point of fortune is kind of like a little gold nugget. So know that whatever challenges, obstacles, difficulties might arise, remember also Saturn is still forming a sextile to the north node and a trine to the south node. So challenges and obstacles are kind of showing us the path, showing us what we need to release. Whatever is coming up is pushing us along the path of our highest good. That's what eclipses do. They shake things up. Anything that's out of alignment with who you came here to be and what you came here to do, especially during an Aries eclipse, which is all about who we are, what our purpose is, what we're driven to do. Anything that's out of alignment with that, the universe is like putting you in a little snow globe and shaking everything up, clearing anything out that's not supporting it. So notice if things are falling away right now, if things aren't working right now, maybe that's the universe showing you this isn't meant for your highest good anymore. If you're having weird encounters or synchronicities or opportunities are opening up for you, that could be the universe kind of giving you that nudge, like, hey, here's an opening, go in this direction. Now, a couple other things to point out about this eclipse. This is the beginning of the eclipse cycle on the Aries Libra axis. Eclipses happen in about 18-month cycles. So we're closing out the eclipse cycle on the Taurus Scorpio axis this month with the Scorpio lunar eclipse in 2 weeks. But in the same breath, we're also beginning the new cycle on the Aries Libra axis. Because of this, because we're at this pivotal point of endings and beginnings, a lot of what's coming up could feel like both an ending and a beginning. And this is only compounded by the fact that this eclipse is squaring Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth. So death and rebirth is going to be a big theme of this eclipse. And with it, with Pluto forming a tense 90-degree angle, it's probably not going to feel comfortable. Whatever changes are happening, probably going to be pretty transformative, maybe bringing up a lot of shadows, a lot of deep emotions that need to be purged, need to be witnessed in order to transform us, to allow that alchemy to happen. Yes, please report back, Corby, since it's a nighttime transit. Your dreams will probably be interesting. That's a great point. And with Mercury opposing the point of fortune too, yes, Mercury rules our waking mind and our rational mind, but just pay attention to any dreams you remember upon waking. I have to say, I'm so excited. I just ordered Corby's new dream journal. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called The Dreamer's Space. You can just look it up and search her name and order it. So I'm really excited to start tracking my dreams because I am not a vivid dreamer. I'm very much a rational mind kind of gal, but Corby has inspired me with all of her vivid dreams to go a little deeper. Okay, Heather, I'm really grateful that you shared this. It sounds scary. Yeah, it does sound scary. My dog's like, yeah, it sounds scary. I don't know if you heard him. But again, fear is kind of part of the process. Fear is kind of part of the process. Also, I've had this little stowaway in my chair this whole time. So let's talk about fear. Okay, Mo, thank you. Let's talk about fear. Because the dogs, they're feeling it. They're feeling the eclipse energy. Fear is something that can definitely come up around eclipses in general. Going back to imagine being, one of our ancestors looking up and seeing the light of the sun block, or seeing during a lunar eclipse the moon turn a blood red color. Like that would be pretty jarring. Now, because this eclipse is squaring Pluto, the planet of shadows, the planet of death and rebirth, deep fears can come up as well. So if you're feeling fear, that might be normal. And Pluto here, being the deep, dark, wanting to get to the bottom of things, wanting to obsessively dig deeper, Pluto is asking us to dig deeper. Like, where is this fear coming from? Is this fear rational? What can I do for myself to feel safe amidst fear? So fear might be part of the story, and that's okay. But finding safety in yourself is going to be key, because eclipses aren't the time to force or actively try to make things happen. Although Pluto squaring the eclipse might give us a tendency to try to control or manipulate a situation, that's probably only going to bring up more shadows, more aggression, more intensity. So instead, how can you surrender? How can you be safe enough in your body and yourself to just surrender and let the chaos, let the transformation, let the alchemy that the universe is bringing into your life just simply happen around you? Easier said than done. I also want to mention that we are in Mercury's shadow period because Mercury stations retrograde on Friday. So communication issues could definitely pop up too. It's an intense next couple days. Like, there's really no way to sugarcoat it, but you were drawn here for a reason, right? And knowledge is power. Knowing what's happening, I think, is key in navigating intensity gracefully. I knew that I was in my Saturn return while my Saturn return was happening. And that was such a gift because I was able to just take the lessons and not necessarily bypass the hardship, but just make sense of things a little more easily. And the same thing can be true for understanding what's going on with this eclipse. We know it's happening. We know the universe is trying to shake things up. So we can welcome those transitions. We can welcome those shakeups rather than resisting them or trying to control them or freaking out about our life feeling a little chaotic for a couple weeks. Yes, Corby released it. We're very excited for her. I noticed that a lot of my Aries friends are having a health crisis, feeling a little intense. Yeah, maybe their life force energy feeling a little bit shaken by the eclipse. The dogs. I'm assuming you're talking about the dogs. Sometimes they just need to pipe in. And I think, they did bark when we talked about fear. So maybe they were just affirming, like, it's okay. We don't need to be afraid. Or maybe they were a little triggered by the idea of fear. Who knows? I wish I could read their little brains. Yay, you just ordered Corby's journal too. We can all do it together. Amazing. Yeah, so powerful. Just witnessing our community putting their creations out into the world. Amazing. Okay, a few other things I want to chat about with this eclipse. I feel like it's just so typical to end Aries season with this, like, boom, it's like a mic drop from the universe. Like, we're going to be dramatic. We're going to make our presence known. Aries solar eclipse to end Aries season. And I want to talk about this in the context of this cycle that we're ending with this new moon. Today is the last day of the moon's previous cycle. Remember, we had a new moon in Aries 28 days ago at 0 degrees. So this whole month, this whole moon cycle leading up to this solar eclipse has kind of felt like a prologue or something, like an intro to whatever is really getting jump started and really taking off during eclipse season. I had this visual when I was thinking about the fact that we have these back-to-back new moons in Aries, one at 0 degrees, one at 29 degrees. And the 0 degree new moon was like lighting that match, sparking the idea, sparking forward motion. And there was this optimism and kind of this just like raw motivation, like, let's just go for it. And then we had the full moon in Libra 2 weeks ago that was like, okay, let's recalibrate. Let's find our balance. Let's adjust a little bit here. Okay. Let's really take our time to make sure that whatever was sparked can be sustainably curated and is really in alignment with our values. But as we approach tonight's solar eclipse in Aries, I think we might realize, like, that was all just preparation for the assignment the universe is really giving us right now. And coming back to the visual, I've been seeing a couple of visuals here, actually, because you know me, I love giving you all the visuals. It's like that new moon at 0 degrees a month ago was lighting the match. And this solar eclipse is like the bonfire blazing, like, oh, we've really cultivated this fire. Now, with the solar eclipse in a fire sign as well, squaring Pluto, there is this vibe of like the phoenix, So what has been burned down through Aries season in order to fertilize the soil for things to actually grow in a way that will stand the test of time starting in Taurus season, because Taurus season is a time to really get grounded and allow things to start to flourish, allow resources to come to us. So yeah, the energy has been culminating to this point all month. And coming back to, I keep trying to give you this visual and then getting off on a tangent. I think I talked about this during the new moon, that the 0 degree Aries new moon at the beginning of the month or the beginning of Aries season felt like hard reset. Like when your computer is maxed out on capacity or whatever you want to call it, and you just have to hard reset, power it off, right? And the whole month following has felt like the rebooting process. You know, when you're just kind of sitting there and you're like waiting for the message to come up on the screen, you're waiting to see if your computer is actually going to start, what the actual problem is. And this solar eclipse at 29 degrees is like the error message, or just the message that pops up. Either you're going to get the error message that's like, oh, time for a new computer, got to throw this one out. You really screwed yourself on that one, you know, like it's done. Or it's like, oh, okay, I just needed that hard reset, and now the computer can operate normally and we can resume whatever project we were working on. Or, you know, maybe even start with a clean slate. Maybe you had to wipe your computer and now you have a brand new hard drive to work off of. So I know that was a lot of like visualization there, but it does, these new moons, these events in Aries a month apart are certainly linked. And the last time we talked about a new moon in Aries a month ago, it was like all about beginnings and starting. And this 29 degree Aries solar eclipse is like adding fuel to the fire that was sparked and really blowing it up, either so it can be burned down and we can rise like the phoenix, or so it can get even bigger and grander than we possibly imagined. Yes, totally a finale. I'm all for finales, of course, with all the fire in your chart too. You're probably feeling all that fire energy. So fitting for Aries to start with a bang and end with a fireworks finale. Absolutely. Yes, I love that visualization too. Like that new moon was lighting the match, and we lit the fuse, and all month the fuse has been going, and we're like, okay, is the firework pointed the right way? And now we're looking up at the sky and seeing the explosions before our eyes. Explosions can be delightful, they can be mesmerizing, and they can be pretty destructive too. So making sure that we are not the destruction, or trying to not be the destruction, trying to avoid power struggles, miscommunication with Pluto and Mercury retrograde, all playing into the current energy. Wow, you just had to wipe your computer last week. There you go. See, somebody was on the same wavelength as that analogy. And really that's the vibe. That's the energy we're working with. It's intense, but at least we know what's coming. So let's talk about how this is showing up in each person's chart who's joining us live or finding this video later. You all know that I am big on your rising sign. So all of the horoscopes that I write are based off of your rising sign. And honestly, most astrologers are writing horoscopes based on your rising sign, even if they don't tell you. So if you don't know your rising sign, this is the time to head to my website, pull up your birth chart, make sure you have the time. You definitely need that for your rising sign. And look for the ASC on the chart. That stands for ascendant, which is another word for your rising sign. If you're like, I don't want to do that, just listen for your sun sign, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So we're going to go through each sign, talk about where this eclipse is showing up in your chart, and we're going to revisit the mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season and maybe add to it, adjust it, change it a little bit. Oh, Corby says, it's like a full circle moment. Yeah, totally. The things I was praying about and worrying over in those areas are being answered and addressed. Yes, I love that. I love that. Oh, and a good point from Nikki. Fraudulent call from the bank. Mercury retrograde season. Watch out for scams too, especially with all this AI stuff going around. Definitely double check communications. Okay, back to our horoscope. So of course, we're going to start with Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. The mantra I gave you for the new moon in Aries was, I am becoming who I was always meant to be. For this solar eclipse, I shifted that just a little bit to, I am proud of who I'm becoming. This eclipse is landing in your first house if you are an Aries rising. And the first house is the house of self, the house of purpose. It's our appearance. It's who we are showing up as in the world. So Aries season in general probably felt like a transition, a restart for you if you're an Aries rising. And the new moon might have had you pondering, who do I want to become? How do I want to show up in this next chapter? This solar eclipse is giving you that opportunity to reflect on, oh, okay, this is everything that's happened that's really showing me who I'm meant to be, and just taking a moment to celebrate who you're becoming. Be proud of who you're becoming. I am proud of who I'm becoming is the mantra for you, Aries risings. Taurus risings, this solar eclipse is happening in your 12th house. And the mantra I gave you for the new moon in Aries at the beginning of Aries season was, I release what no longer serves me to make space for new growth. The 12th house is all about releasing, endings, closure, healing. So the mantra was, I release so I can make space for new growth. I adjusted this for the solar eclipse to be a little bit more potent. And the mantra for you under tonight's solar eclipse Taurus risings is, I am a clear channel allowing the universe to work its magic through me. Because the 12th house is a house of just surrendering, just trusting, and a house of cleansing as well. Hopefully Aries season has already brought some of that cleansing energy into your life if you're a Taurus rising. And by tonight, hopefully you can feel like you are that clear channel. You are just healing, open, trusting. I am a clear channel, allowing the universe to work its magic through me. The 12th house can be very magical as well. Now, if you're a Taurus rising, you might have felt especially sensitive during Aries season and probably will still feel a little sensitive for the next couple days at least. So just giving yourself grace, maybe taking some space on your own if you need it to cleanse, to clear out anything that's stuck within you that needs to go so you can show up in Taurus season as the next best version of yourself. I am a clear channel, allowing the universe to work its magic through me. Moving on to our Gemini risings. Gemini risings, this Aries season, this cycle has been lighting up your 11th house of your network, of your community, of technology. So the mantra I gave you at the new moon at 0 degrees a month ago was, my community is a resource to help me achieve my goals. My community is a resource to help me achieve my goals. So Aries season is a time of community for you if you're a Gemini rising. And I just slightly adjusted the mantra for this solar eclipse tonight to be, I am grateful for my community. Again, this isn't really a time I would set intentions personally. And so I think something we can always do, a ritual we can always come back to regardless of the current energy, is gratitude. Gratitude always. So just noticing the connections that you've made through Aries season, being grateful for the support system you have around you, for the network you have around you, for the technology you have available to you to learn new information. If you're a Gemini rising, you're a natural learner, right? And I will also mention, if you're a Gemini rising, Mercury is about to station retrograde. It's in its shadow period, and Mercury is your ruling planet. So again, I would not, if I was a Gemini rising, be doing anything super intentional or trying to charge forward right now. Instead, just letting the universe do its shakeup and connecting with community for support along the way. Now to our Cancer risings. Cancer risings, this Aries season, this moon cycle has been highlighting your 10th house of career and long-term goals. So the mantra I gave you during last month's new moon was, I am confidently climbing towards my big dreams and goals one step at a time. Channeling that Aries confidence to keep climbing the mountain, keep climbing towards success. Now this solar eclipse at 29 degrees, the mantra has been adjusted to, I honor all of the success I have achieved in my life so far, giving gratitude for every step that got me to where I am today. It's as if you're climbing that mountain, the mountain of the 10th house, the mountain of success, and maybe just taking a moment to pause, to look around, to see how far you've come already. And again, to allow the universe to do its work. It's almost as if you're scaling this mountain, you're on the side of it, and you know an earthquake might be coming. So you just kind of stop and brace yourself and find your stability again. That might be what this energy is feeling like if you're a Cancer rising. So just taking a moment to ground, to get really stable and steady amidst eclipse season, so you can keep achieving success, but also not forcing yourself to continue that climb during eclipse season, to continue that climb right now, honoring all the success you've already garnered and just being grateful for how far you've come as of right now. Okay, Leo risings. The mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season was, I fearlessly follow the path of growth, expansion, and adventure, because Aries season is lighting up your 9th house. The 9th house is all about higher education and travel and growth and philosophy and learning and publishing and all these beautiful things, right? So there's this fearlessness, there's this courage that comes with expanding and growing, and we've been tapping into that for our Leo risings all Aries season. With this solar eclipse at the end of Aries, at the end or near the end probably of your 9th house, coming towards your midheaven. So if you're a Leo rising, your midheaven is probably going to be activated by this solar eclipse, by this transition into Taurus season. And the midheaven is this high point of success, visibility. So whatever changes are happening, if you're a Leo rising, might feel very visible or outward or public even. Now, Leo risings, you might not hate that because you're a Leo rising after all. But if it's an uncomfortable transition, just know that it might be a little more public than you'd like it to be. Here's the mantra I give you to follow up on that for this solar eclipse tonight, and that's, I am grateful for the wisdom I've gained in my exploration. Again, Aries season has been a time of growth and expansion and adventure for you. So just taking this moment to pause, to ground ahead of eclipse season and honor all the wisdom you've gained throughout Aries season. Know that whatever happens, you'll always have that wisdom. Nobody can take that away from you. The experience in itself has helped you along your journey. So there could be a really powerful shift that like catapults you to a next level during this eclipse. If I was a Leo rising, I'd be a little bit stoked about this. Maybe slightly scared because, yeah, we've been talking about how intense this is going to be, but being a Leo rising would be kind of nice right now. I'm not, but I know some of you are out there. Okay, Virgo risings. I am a Virgo rising, so I can relate. This Aries season has the sun and the moon have been moving through our 8th house. And the 8th house is the house of shadows, mystery, what lies beneath, energetic contracts, it's the house of darkness. So the mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season was, courageously exploring my shadows allows me to fully harness my light. We can't have light without the dark. We can't be our fullest expression of light and love without acknowledging the dark parts of ourselves and acknowledging the power that they hold, because darkness isn't inherently bad. You know, there are parts of us that are down in the shadows, that are powering us, even in subconscious ways. So Aries season has been a time to get to know our shadows, to get to know our darkness. And woo, I have been feeling that. I don't know about you if you're a Virgo rising. Also ruled by Mercury, you'll be feeling the effects of Mercury retrograde probably a little more strongly than everybody else as well. Okay, but here's the mantra I give you and I give myself for tonight's Solar eclipse in Aries at 29 degrees. I am no longer afraid of my shadows. If we never explore the dark, we're going to be afraid of what's down there. But if we are willing to excavate, if we're willing to take a flashlight and go look in all the corners, make sure there are no monsters in the basement or ghosts, hanging out, then we don't have to be afraid of our shadows anymore. We don't have to be afraid of the dark anymore. So the mantra to take with you into eclipse season is, I am no longer afraid of my shadows. I don't know, you've probably seen memes on social media if you're following any spiritual accounts. It's like me hanging with my inner demons. Obviously, it's a joke, but that is a great representation of doing shadow work, just like getting to know the parts of yourself that you normally push aside because you're like, that's not acceptable. That's a little too much. That's a little dark. Get to know those parts of yourself and honor every part of yourself because it's all making up who you are and who you're meant to be. Clearly, I'm just like preaching to myself right now, but this show is for me too sometimes. So I'm no longer afraid of my shadows. I am declaring that here and now. And you are perfectly on time, Brie, because we are moving on to Libra rising right now. So the affirmation, the mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season, if you are a Libra rising, was, I welcome a new chapter in my closest relationships, finding balance between receiving and giving. Aries season for our Libra risings is a time of relationships. It's the sun is moving through your 7th house, the house of marriage, the house of relationships. So it's not all like lovey-dovey relationships. It could be friendships, work relationships. It could even be enemies, honestly. Aries season has put the focus on relationships, and also being a Libra rising, you might tend to be a people pleaser. So you might have assessed during Aries season that balance between how much you give and how much you receive. Here's the mantra I give you under the solar eclipse tonight at 29 degrees of Aries. My relationships are a reflection of me. My relationships are a reflection of me. Relationships, I truly believe, come into our life to mirror parts of ourselves that we're not able to see on our own. So especially as we head into a Mercury retrograde and eclipse season, and the moon and sun probably begin to move out of your 7th house and into your 8th house of depths and shadows and everything we just talked about for Virgo risings, knowing that if someone's pissing you off, if someone is challenging you, or you feel like they're trying to control or manipulate you or anything like that, anything negative is coming up in relationships, ask, how is this a reflection of me? How is this person reflecting back something unhealed in me? And if that doesn't feel applicable, I invite you to try this. How can I be a mirror for this person? Now, that doesn't mean you fight fire with fire, although that could be easy to do with this eclipse squaring Pluto and Mercury getting ready to station retrograde and all that good stuff. It could be easy to fight fire with fire, but instead, I encourage you to be a neutral mirror. If you don't react, the person on the other end of this interaction is forced to see their own reactions more clearly. They can't pin it on you. They can't get you going, so you're both in it, right? That's just my own personal advice, something that helps me. But remembering that the relationships that come into our life are here to reflect back parts of ourselves, parts we love, parts we don't necessarily like. So get curious about that. Yes, she got here just in time, just in time. All right, Scorpio risings. So Corby, I know you're a Scorpio rising. I know we have a few of you out there. The mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season, and as Corby mentioned, the focus has been on her 6th house of health, wellness, daily routines, pets. So the mantra I gave you was, my small daily habits pave the way for my biggest successes. Really honing in on the details, honing in on our rituals, our routines. Those have probably been illuminated through Aries season. Maybe even at the beginning of Aries season with that 0-degree new moon, you were like, I'm ready to overhaul my whole routine and become a new person. Now, the mantra I give you at the end of Aries season, on this last day of Aries season, is, I celebrate the small wins. because it can be easy when we're working with the 6th house to kind of be so honed in on the details that it's like on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next appointment in our calendar. But looking back on this past cycle and being like, look at all the big and small wins, but all the little things that happened, all the little shifts I made, all the choices I made that helped me make progress, that helped me evolve. So celebrating wins, big and small, and giving yourself credit, even if you don't feel like you made as much progress or transformation as you wanted to during Aries season. Celebrate what you have accomplished. Be in that energy of gratitude. Your ruling planet, Scorpio risings, is really playing a role in this eclipse too. And if you're a Scorpio rising, you're like, let's go, let's transform, let's make it deeper. So this energy might feel like a little exciting for you, but I would recommend just being in the present, being here now. That feels applicable for the 6th house, is really honing in on the present moment. Okay. Sagittarius risings. We are talking about the 5th house for you. The 5th house is the house of the inner child, of play, of expression, of performance and art and creativity, falling in love, passion. So the mantra I gave you for the beginning of Aries season, Sagittarius risings, was when I'm following my passion, I attract my desires with ease. When I'm following my passion, I attract my desires with ease. Aries season should have been a fun time for you. Just doing what lights you up, having fun along the way. That's the vibe of Aries season for you if you're a Sag rising. The mantra I give you is not much different for this eclipse tonight, and that's my life is allowed to be fun and playful. This should come very naturally to you if you're a Sagittarius rising, but there could have been a lot of creativity that was born out of Aries season for you. Let it be playful. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be for a purpose. Like, you're allowed to just do things to have fun and create and play and be free. So affirming to yourself, it's allowed to be playful. And even something that might help if you are experiencing intensity or changes that don't feel super comfortable. If you're a Sag rising, you might have a tendency to just like head for the hills and check out and be like, peace out. I don't want to deal with this. This is too heavy for me. But I invite you to bring your natural exuberance and playful energy to challenging situations. Be like, how can I play with the universe? How can I dance with the universe here? Like, I'm not going to run from this. I'm just going to be in it and allow it to be lighter than maybe I'm catastrophizing. So allow transformation to be fun. Allow it to be playful, and celebrate your ability to bring that party with you wherever you go, because that is the superpower of the Sagittarius rising. Okay, last 3 signs. Capricorn risings, we're talking about the 4th house for you. So Aries season has been focusing your attention on your home, your family, generational patterns, your mother, the people who raised you, maybe the family you're raising for yourself or the home you're building for yourself. And if you're a Capricorn rising, the mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season was, it is safe for me to go after my goals, and doing so sets a powerful example for the next generation. Because the 4th house is all about safety. It's all about finding our safe space, being nurtured, getting nurturing from our family, but also, again, nurturing other people. So finding that safety in your body, Capricorn risings, has been a big invitation for you during Aries season, finding that safety in your home as well, and among your family or even your chosen family. And if you're a Capricorn, you're all about succeeding. You're all about, achieving. Aries season brings that energy too of leadership and going after our dreams. But it's important to remember that this matters first. Your home, your family, your body takes precedence over your work or your career goals. So finding safety in yourself can set a powerful example for the other people watching that, you can get an award, you can get a degree, but that's not going to make you happy. The love of the people around you and taking care of your body, finding safety in yourself is truly, I believe, what generates happiness. So the mantra I give you to kind of compound on the energy you've been working with all of Aries season is, I am breaking generational patterns. How are you handling stressful situations? How are you handling changes when they arise during eclipse season? Are you handling things the way the people who modeled behavior taught you to handle them, is that beneficial for you? Maybe you grew up in like an amazing household and you have parents that like were super emotionally regulated and taught you how to regulate your own emotions. And so you can think back to like, wow, my mom always did this thing when she was upset or when I was upset. And now I can teach that thing to my kids or to other people in my community, or just even do that for myself. But if you're like many of us, maybe you weren't modeled functional coping mechanisms for difficult emotions. How can you break generational patterns that you no longer want to carry on? And just affirming to yourself as we head into this really tumultuous eclipse season that we're heading into, I am here to break generational patterns. I am breaking generational patterns. Okay, Aquarius risings. This eclipse lands in your third house, the house of communication, of speech, of learning, of sibling relationships, friendships. So the mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season was talking about my desires with others opens me to new perspectives about how they will manifest. We were working with that 0-degree Aries moon and these raw desires, these sparks of inspiration. So sharing about them, talking about them, having conversations with other people was sort of the assignment I gave you if you're an Aquarius rising. Now that we're coming into the end of this cycle with the eclipse at 29 degrees, the mantra I have for you is, I reflect on all that I've learned during this past cycle and stay open to new information as it becomes available to me. If you are an Aquarius rising, you probably have a good amount of fixed energy in your chart, or at least your rising sign is a fixed sign. And with Pluto in Aquarius, with all of the Taurus activation and Scorpio activation that we're going to be seeing in the coming cycle, it could be really easy to be in that fixed mindset because fixed signs are certainly being affected. Fixed signs and cardinal signs are really feeling this energy quite a bit. So if you're an Aquarius rising, you might be open to new information and open to learning, but once you decide on something, you might be someone who has sort of a fixed mindset. Like, this is how it is. I learned this conspiracy theory and I signed on to it, or I learned about this new way of doing things and now I'm like the spokesperson for this new way of doing things. I invite you as you enter eclipse season to stay flexible, to keep an open mind, and just, again, stay open to new information, because this is a time of insights and changes and people coming in and people going and situations unfolding. So just staying open, trying to be as flexible as possible, even when it's really tempting to stay fixed and kind of dig your heels in during Taurus season. So reflecting on the conversations you've had, reflecting on the information that the universe has provided to you over the past month, and staying open to even more of it as it comes in. Okay, and last but certainly not least, we have our Pisces rising horoscopes. Pisces risings, this Aries season, the sun has been moving through your second house, your house of resources, of values, of money, of income, of work, or at least how we bring in those physical resources to us. So the mantra I gave you at the beginning of Aries season was, I am worthy of my greatest dreams. I am worthy of abundance. Because again, we were working with this raw, optimistic, inspirational energy moving into Aries season and moving out of Pisces season, of course. So just feeling like we're worthy of abundance is a powerful way to call it in. You might have been tapping into, okay, what am I calling in? What resources do I want? Are the actions I'm taking aligned with my values? All that kind of stuff throughout Aries season. The mantra I give you to end Aries season, to begin eclipse season is, I am abundant. Not that I'm just worthy of abundance. I am abundant. Look at me. I'm breathing. I'm looking at you. I can use all of my senses. I have a brain that's functioning. I can be connecting with people all over the world right now, looking at everything that's already abundant in your life. And that's going to help you navigate any changes that come when you're in that energy of gratitude. I am abundant. Pisces risings, affirming it over and over. I am abundant. I'm already abundant. More of this, please. More of the abundance that has just come in during Aries season. More of it. Let's go. I am abundant, regardless of what's going on around me, regardless of what's falling apart or what's showing up. I am abundant. All right. Those are your horoscopes for this solar eclipse. I hope they resonated. I hope they gave you a little mantra to hold on to and affirm to yourself if things do get a little shaky or a little intense, which they might. I tend to be that toxic, positive person that's like, it's going to be fine. And I was doing that to myself. And I will tell you, I am feeling it now. So it's good to have a positive mindset, I think. It's good not to fear and be in a fear base, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? That's not going to help anybody. But it's also nice to be prepared and know maybe it's not affecting you. Maybe you're good. Maybe you are like in a monk-like state and you can handle anything the universe throws at you. More power to you. But the people around you might be feeling this eclipse. Coworkers, partners, even your pets, kids, grandparents, parents, everybody's going to be feeling this energy in one way or another. So it often helps us have grace for other people when we know that there's something major happening, when we understand that it's a really intense energy that all of us here on planet Earth are experiencing. And I want to bring back the affirmation that I gave you at the very beginning of the week. I surrender control and trust in the unfolding. I surrender control and trust in the unfolding. And the affirmation I put on the top of today's forecast at thespiritualjournalist.com is just, I surrender. So we could just shorten this whole thing. Now is the time to surrender. Now is the time to let go, stop forcing, stop pushing. I know the sun and moon are at 29 degrees of Aries. We want to push, we want to force, we want to make things happen. But truly, just by looking at the forecast, I think the best thing we can do heading into eclipse season is just like, universe, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. Or as Nick said on Monday, go stride the whip. We're taking our hands off the wheel. Let things happen as they're going to happen. That doesn't mean we don't do anything, but if you're finding yourself trying to force or control, maybe take a step back and allow the universe a little more room to do its magic. Okay, and we're going to finish up with a card pull from the Queen of the Moon Oracle, because the moon is the queen tonight. She's doing some powerful things. She's crossing over the sun. So I think we can honor her. Thank you, Rose. She says, loved the mantras for all the signs. Each one resonated with me. I love that too, because remember, we all have all the signs in our chart. So sometimes it's nice to just check in with those different aspects of our life and affirm like, okay, I am abundant. Okay, I've got this, in this area and career. I'm grateful for how far I've come. So I'm glad they all resonated. I think there is a way to honor both. I can't remember what I was talking about, but Corby also said, yes, surrender is the best posture to be in and mindset to have. It's all going to work out for our highest good, even the really seemingly tough moments. Yeah. And I've already been reminding myself of that today. and yesterday, as the moon in Aries is making its presence known. I'm like, okay, everything happening right now is happening for me, through me, for me to become the best version of me. Rose says 29-degree transits always show up for me with very sweet breakfasts. That indulgent energy. I had popcorn and an ice cream sandwich as part of my breakfast today. Didn't feel so guilty because it made me feel better, and did a lot after. Yeah, Rose always does this. She drops in what sweets she's eating and gives all of our sweet tooths a little like surge of like, ooh, that sounds nice. I might want something like that too. Ah, yes. I was referring to when you said being toxic positive and understanding to others. Yeah. Yes. There is a way to honor both. Yeah, there is a way to be positive and not ignore shadows, darkness, tension, whatever you want to call it coming up. But there's also a way to be like, I'm feeling this right now, and not bypass our emotions. That's important, not to just I know I am guilty of that. Just like, I don't want to feel this. So I'm just going to find the positive approach and not feel it. Feeling will come up. Let me tell you from personal experience. Yeah, treat yourself. It's an eclipse. You know, we're going into a tense season. It's also about to be Taurus season. The next time I see you will be Taurus season. And Taurus season is all about comfort foods, comfort environments. Like, be kind to your body during Taurus season. And don't be afraid to treat yourself. Taurus is ruled by Venus. We can indulge a little. It's almost Taurus season, right? Okay, let's go ahead and pull a card. We'll take one nice, big, deep collective breath, whether you're finding this video later or you're joining me live. Just take a moment as we head into this eclipse portal, this eclipse season, to remember you can always come back to your breath. You can always reset your energy through a nice, deep breath. So let's do that all together now. Here we go. Breathing in and holding at the top and releasing. What do we need to know? The card is growth. Beautiful. It's a waxing crescent moon, which is interesting because that's the phase when the moon is growing, but the message that is coming through is growth. And I think it's just that reminder. I'll read the guidebook, but whatever is coming our way is here to push us to grow. Okay, so being in a growth mindset, being in a surrender mindset, growing along with the challenges is probably one of the best things we can do. Here's the message. Reject stagnancy. To get unstuck, take action. The choice to grow should be made. Expect growing pains when making huge changes in your life. Change is a natural part of life and cannot be pushed against forever. Change should have aim and purpose. Be courageous, you will blossom. Think of a willow tree. Willows often grow on the sandy banks of highly shiftable and changeable rivers, yet they reach huge sizes, successfully growing and holding fast in an unpredictable habitat. How do they do this? When you see a young willow on the banks, for a long while, it just looks like a feeble stick. It may have a few branches and leaves, but at first the trunk will be fine and flexible rather than robust. What we don't see immediately is the root base. The willow spends a lot of time establishing a veritable root city under the surface. These roots are strong and long and very numerous, finding their way into many nooks and crannies, holding onto rocks, other established tree roots, and anything that can help with their stability. These roots go off in all directions, thus securing their position just in case the earth begins to shift. Then and only then, once these root networks are established well enough, does the willow put its energy into further growth. The trunk begins to thicken and widen and harden and travel upwards to the sky. However, as they grow, the branches have little of the trunk's supportive thickness. They have instead the instruction that they must be flexible. Flexible means they can turn with the sun and survive punishing winds that might threaten to topple the rest of the tree. All of this growth is done with purpose and a divine strategy. The waxing lunar cycle calls for growth, but not growth without aim or purpose. When we understand our current position, accept it, and decide to change, we will naturally grow as people. We might experience some growing pains. After all, transformation of any kind is rarely completely easy and trouble-free. Having a strong intention of what the results of our growth will be helps with gaining the courage and resilience to move forward with our growth and into the eventual blossoming of our true self. I am so glad we got this card that talks so much about being rooted as we head into Taurus season, because the Taurus energy, remember, we also have Mercury and Uranus in Taurus. So once the sun and moon move into Taurus, we'll have a stellium in Taurus and the North Node. Taurus energy is about being grounded, being rooted, connecting with the earth. And I think we can use the visualization that this card gave of the willow tree, even when the bank is shifting, even when eclipse season is bringing shifts and changes into our life. How can we remain rooted, but also flexible? And I love that we have this double new moon cycle happening in Aries, because that 0 degree new moon in Aries a month ago was like, what do you want? What are you going after? How are you showing up? What's your purpose? And we've had this whole cycle to be like, what do we want? Where are we going? To really reboot and aim at our goals. And eclipse season, like I said, could throw fire on those goals and have things blow up and shift and change and bring new resources in or pull resources away. But if we can remain grounded, if we can remain rooted and flexible and still connected to our values, still connected to the desires, the seeds we planted under the Aries new moon at the very beginning of spring, if we can still stay attached to those visions, those goals, those dreams, and rooted in those dreams, those desires, the shifts that are happening all around us won't feel as intense. If we know what we're here to do, who we're here to be, how we're here to show up, we can remain rooted in that and flexible among anything else that's thrown at us. I'm going to take that card as growing that money, especially as we're going to enter Taurus season. Yes, Taurus rules the money. So we're all going to be probably Mercury's in Taurus too. So we've all been thinking more about money. And Mercury retrograde will be hanging out in Taurus too. And Mercury retrograde in Taurus could have a lot of us reviewing our money mindset. We'll get into that a different time. But I love how Corby reminds us it's all for our growth. And the universe is reminding us of that too. All right, everybody. We've got a leaf blower coming in. We've been chatting a long time, but I'm so grateful for this time we were able to spend together today, welcoming in the eclipse energy, preparing ourselves the best way we can by connecting with each other, by connecting with our tools, our resources, the tool of astrology, the knowledge that we have of ourselves through the practice of astrology. I'm truly just so grateful that each and every one of you continue to show up for yourselves, continue to show up for each other in this community. And I'm sending you lots of love and positive vibes and support as we enter this wild ride. Remembering the visualization we ended with on Monday. It's like we're getting to the top of that roller coaster and we're all on this ride together. The ride's about to begin. Who knows what corkscrews or twists and turns are coming along the way, but we're all on the same roller coaster, okay? I do. I love the time we spend together too. Sending you lots of love. You know, this helps me just as much as it helps you. And I'm excited to see what fated shifts and changes come in for all of us, because eclipses aren't all doom and gloom. They can bring some powerful moments as well. I would not be here doing this astrology live stream if it wasn't for a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius a couple years ago. So be open to the magic. Stay open to the magic. Stay rooted in your values. Stay rooted in your dreams. And know that whatever is coming your way is exactly what's meant for you. I love you all. I will see you probably tomorrow because we got to talk about Taurus season. But until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.